So now you're getting to the point where you have a lot of different variations and you're wondering, okay, what's next? What do I do next? Well, the first thing before we can do anything else is we need to start making some backgrounds, because in pop art they weren't just all on a white background. They had, usually it was solid or textured backgrounds. So what I'm going to do, I don't want you to use photos from the internet. I know that's tempting. I'm going to zoom out here for a moment, command minus, and what I'm going to do is start playing with backgrounds. So let's say right now I have black as a background. That's kind of interesting. I don't love it. I kind of like that one better. There we go. So, there's an example. But the background seems a little, I don't know, it doesn't quite work for me on this. So what I'm going to do is start, thinking about the colors I have and what colors I think would go well in the background of a particular layout. So I'm going to try the magenta here. And so I like that a lot. So what I'm going to do, once I've got that, I'm now going to do a file and I'm going to do a save as. And this design that I have is now going to become a snapshot. It's going to be just one of my multiple variations. So that means I'm going to convert this to a JPEG. It's going to remove all the layers, but this is a copy, so you'll still have your Photoshop file, so don't worry. So change it to a JPEG, and I'm going to call this my pop art shoe version. I'm putting V as in version 1, and I'm going to save it into my folder here, and I'm going to hit save. And it's going to come up with this JPEG options, and you can just hit OK, whatever it says, that's fine. Now, I think it's really important to note that if we go back to the Finder right now, you will see that in your folder, one second while it loads, you will see that if I look at my date modified here, I have my pop art shoe version 1, and then I also have my converse.psd. So if I double click on this and open this, it's going to open in preview, and it is a snapshot of that particular moment in time with my shoe. So I can start saving variations out as I do this. My goal is to get 10 of these saved out. So, but I also want to think about the backgrounds for each of these before I save them. Here's another variation that I have. I could now play around with, I could do a solid background. I'm not feeling the pink anymore though. I could do something that contrasts this or goes well with the colors. You notice that Andy Warhol did a lot of solid colored backgrounds. So, I could do something like that. I could also play around with adding a pattern in the background. This is going to be very similar to the method that we use to add pattern to the shoe itself. So I'm going to make a brand new layer, and this is going to be my background pattern, so I can keep them straight. And this time I could take my paint bucket and I could fill it. I could turn on the pattern, check the pattern here, and I could click, and it creates this pattern in the background. Now again, you know that if you want to blend it with the color, you have to change this to some sort of setting so you can see the pattern in the background. I don't really love that particular pattern very much. I find it kind of just doesn't really go. So I'm going to delete that. You have the option to, besides using the prefabbed patterns, you can also create your own patterns. So I could go in and start drawing. For instance, if I wanted to have circles in the background, I could go in and grab my circle tool here, and I could start drawing circles. So I could do one. If I do one like this, and then I'm going to simplify the layer by right-clicking on it, I can now make a bunch of copies. I'm going to do Command J, Command J, Command J, Command J. And what I'm doing is I'm making multiple copies that I'm going to then put into the background. So they're going behind the shoe, notice that. And it's creating this sort of dot pattern, right? So I can actually make my own pattern this way. And I'm going to do a couple more copies of the original so that I can fill out this width, and then I'll show you how to kind of speed up this process. And I'm doing one more, and that's pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. So I could select some of my other ones and just sort of shift them over. I'm using my arrow key to do that, just so you know. You can also use your auto select, and I can click on the ones that I want to move. So I'm going to scale these up a little bit. So I'm going to select all of these now, and I'm going to grab them all and I'm going to scale them so that they fit into my window. I'm also going to merge them. So I'm going to do Command E with them all selected, and it makes them all one dot pattern. So now if I do Command J and duplicate, now I can just bring this down, Command J and bring this down, and so forth. I'll keep doing this for a moment, and I'm going to do one more time, and then I'll have a background that I want. Now let's say that you like your background, but, well, and I can go in and merge these again. So I can select all of these layers. I'm holding Shift, and I'm clicked on the top layer, and then I'm going to hold Shift and click on the bottom layer, and now I can do Command E, and that does is it takes the entire pattern and makes it all in one layer. So that's really helpful. So now let's say I like it, but maybe it needs to be just toned down. I could play around with my opacity here. I could try doing a burn, something like that. Oh, I kind of like that. So now let's say I like this one. This is one of my variations. I'm now going to go up to File, Save As, and I'm going to change the format to JPEG, and I'm going to call this my pop art. In fact, you can look through your list and find the name you called your last one. Pop art shoe. Mine's pop art shoe version 1. Now this is version 2, and I'm going to hit save. And it's going to ask me JPEG quality. I'm going to hit OK. So I also still want to save my Photoshop file. So it's going to, when I hit Command S, it's going to ask me if I want to save this, and I'm going to hit save, and it's going to ask me to replace it, and I want to because I've created new layers in this. Meanwhile, I still have all of my layers that I can turn on and off at any time. And in my Finder, you'll notice that now I have two versions of my pop art shoe. I've got this one that I saved just a minute ago, and then I have this version that I just saved. So your goal is to have 10 versions, and you should look at the list of variations for kind of what we're looking for.